for it.
All right, what up, everyone? Welcome to Alliance Wars Dutchies versus T2D Allstars. Of course, we do have Jeffrey as our co-host. Say hello, Jeffrey.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you as always.
I'm gonna move these around a little bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just, yeah, it's always a great time when we get together for Alliance Wars. Especially as we get further and further in the tournament, right? Like, now we're getting towards some of the, the upper end of the teams. And, yeah, I expect some sweaty games, so I'm pretty excited for it.
Okay, so first game is gonna be Stevie versus Killer. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's do this. Game number 1. And, I'm pretty excited. T2D Allstars versus the Dutchies. Like, there's some pretty good names on both sides. So, yeah, it should be great. And here we are on Bullseye, a map that we don't get to see too often. And pretty interesting deck choices as well, Blade. What do you make of this?
Good care of you.
So the interesting thing about these decks is you've got the MLRS on the left from Killer, taking on Stevie's deck that's mostly ground. He only has laser drone really that can handle that MLRS well. The thing is, this looks like it's a good 2-range map, and it kind of is, but it's also super awkward, because the best place to put that MLRS is probably going to be on up and left of the missile, like around this bit. But then you don't really cover the whole top pad. So it's okay, but it's a little awkward. I'm not sure how the MLRS is going to do here. I also think this is a great map for laser drones. They can fly over the easy blocks. So I feel like laser drone is going to be instrumental here. I don't know if Killer's going to be able to hold them off.
Well, speaking of that, here they come. Laser drones coming just as called, and great counter to this MLRS and the dogs. But of course, the slingshot's going to come out and respond to that very quickly, and the slingshot's going to clean them up very nicely. And in fact, doesn't even look like the MLRS is going to go down, just under half health. So Killer's looking pretty good here. He's got that MLRS in a decent spot, but just like you said, I mean, where does he put it from here? It looks like he needs to move it up, but here comes down missile number 1, and Stevie's going to looking pretty good at this. He's got the tank and the drones on the top. He's going to block the... Oh, and unfortunately, didn't get a block on the dogs there. Could have done that to stop them from getting on the pads there, but now the shocks are there as well. And hold on a minute, what's going on? Oh, he's unit swapping, but I'm not so sure about that. He had the pad, so now he's lost the dogs, and now he's actually just having a problem here, trying to compete for the bottom pad there. And now with the Satron coming down as well, that looking great again for Stevie. So a lot of back and forth action here so far. A few misplays on both sides, but now looking like Stevie's going to clutch it, and there it is. All right, Stevie takes missile number 1.
Yeah, some good blocking from Stevie there to get that first missile. After the first miss block that you mentioned with the lasers on the dogs. I actually did, when you asked me about the decks, I did actually not see that there was a slingshot. That obviously shuts down the laser drones pretty well. But as you can see here, he lost the first missile. Even now, the MLRS is really struggling, being pushed back. He's going to lose it even with that slingshot protection. And as many of you will know, my thoughts on slingshot, I'm not a fan. I think that, especially in a deck like this, he makes an MLRS and a slingshot. He's got 2 things that do a single job. And then he hasn't really got a good infantry counter, so he has to make like the Razorback. It's just a deck of a bunch of things that do a single thing. And if you overcommit on any of them, you're in trouble.
Yeah, very Fortress-style deck, right? Well, and look at this. I mean, the Liang drone on the MLRS is pushed back so far, and a big problem here is he really can't get that slingshot to a reasonable position to compete against the laser drones. Even then, it's just a useless unit right now. It's not able to attack anything on the field, so it's just sitting there taking a pop cap for Killer, and that's hurting him big time. Now, with that Razorback going down on the top pad, well, Stevie clutches both right pads, and he takes it.
Yeah, and there it is. As predicted, that map was not... Oh, my bad, guys. My bad. That's not Jeffrey. As predicted, that map not as good as it looked like it was going to be for those 2-range units.
Pretty much. Yep, that's right. And wow, down the middle. So Killer here making a big change. But I got to say, it seems like Killer's trying to push himself into a deck, like into a map that's good for the deck he's playing. But in fact, no, he's decided to play Tick Tanks with Mutants and Chuggy. Okay, that's really interesting. No Kane as well, which, this is a great Kane map. So I'm a little sad not to see it here, but hey, that's okay.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this deck here from Killer, you see he's like completely changed what he's doing. I mean, both players have, but Killer went from playing like double 2-range to playing Tick, Chuggy, Mutants. This deck is nonsense, by the way. Like no dog, no bikes, sorry. He's got Mutant and Tick Tank. Like, what is the purpose of this? When is he gonna... He's like, oh, my Mutants can't handle these vehicles, so now I have Tick Tank here. I hate this deck. I hate this deck so much. I think Stevie's gonna demolish him. I don't like Stevie's deck that much either, but I think his is a real deck, and I think Killer's deck sucks. So, strongly putting my money on Stevie here.
Well, some strong words there from Blade, and you know what? Maybe not wrong, because Stevie just took missile number 1. Killer, again, still looking for that first missile.
Yeah, and without the bikes, I don't see how he even beats Talon. Like, if Steefy made only Talons for the entire game, he would win this game. Because you can't kill them with Phantoms, because they're too cheap. And you can't really beat them with Laser, because Laser doesn't win on defense, doesn't win on offense. So I actually think Steefy could make... He's not going to realize it until too late, I think. But if he made only Talons, he would win this game.
Well, and Killer now getting his Tick Tank online, planting it up onto the top pad. Of course, Tick Tank has a ton of hit points. For those of you who don't know, it has about 6,000 effectively, and this Orca here is about to deal 2,000 of it if it gets there. And so, you know, Tick Tank can survive for quite a long time. Now, having said that, it depends on where does Killer go from here. And so he's popping out the flames. Of course, that's kind of what he's expecting to make, but he also has Chem Buggy, and Chem Buggy with this Raider can move around that Tick Tank and get in and out of position, which is a much better spot for it. And again, this Orca here getting some pretty good value, but now, just like Blade was talking about, Talon's coming out in numbers, and yeah, Killer looking pretty weak there. He did have enough time here to get this Phantom out. It looks like he's going to clear the first one, and there it goes.
Yeah, and here you see the Phantom does come out, but it kills one Talon, and it looks like it's going to die after killing one Talon, which is a super underwhelming Phantom. Killer does have that Tick Tank though, and that Tick Tank is proving a massive issue for Steefy.
Ooh, and here we go. So missile number 2, can Steefy clutch it? And another missile. He's actually not going to get onto the pads here quickly enough. Oh, hold on a minute. Oh, just about. The Talon moved off the pad there. Was going to hold against the Phantom for a little bit there, but it did look like Killer was going to take it either way.
Pretty big throw from Steefy there. He could have put both Talons on the bottom pad and secured it. I don't know if he wins the missile, but it definitely doesn't lose him the missile immediately, which is what happened with the situation that we just watched. He also lost his Harvesters, these mutants. Steefy not looking so hot right now. Has not identified that Talon only would win him the game.
That's exactly where he needs to be, as we see Orca coming out with Pitbull, which seems like the right call, but this Phantom here about to get a full volley off against the Orca. There it goes. This Phantom here, even though it's low hit points, is getting some pretty reasonable value, and that has really been turning the tide here for Killer.
Yeah, I mean, Steefy just really can't beat these Chuggies. Like, I've heard that the Orca beats Chuggy, but this is not looking... it's not looking like that that prediction is coming true. Kind of looks like Orca is not beating Chuggy, or even coming close to it.
You know, it's funny, right? Because you look at these matchups and you think, well, Chem Buggy specialist, ground unit, Orca's an anti-vehicle specialist. Yeah, it should win, but you know what? That's just not how Rivals really works. And, well, speaking of that, can Killer make a comeback? He's looking pretty good. He's got double Tick Tanks there, and it's not looking like Steve can get there. Nope. And, well, Killer makes a comeback here, finding his first 2 missiles of the game and his first victory.
And
all right,
we
game
see
number
that
3, and it's on 3
has
lanes.
gone back to Nod. No surprises there. He played GDI. He got absolutely crushed because he was playing GDI. So he switched to Nod. It seems reasonable.
Yeah, might as well switch to the winning faction, right? So yeah, here we go. We see we got Seth on Steefy's side, and he's playing a pretty vanilla deck here, except for laser drones. Laser drones are a pretty spicy splash there. But Killer here, okay, so we switched over to Inferno. So I love to see this, right? Like, these players are constantly switching up decks, which you don't get to see too often.
Yeah, I mean, Steefy now is playing the same deck he was playing in the first game, so this is clearly just a comfort deck for him. Probably his ladder deck. That's often what people play, is just their ladder deck when they're not sure what to bring. Killer has changed deck here, which is interesting, because he played Nod. The thing is, the last one was a 2-pad map, so he probably thought Tick Tank was going to be very strong, and he's right. Tick Tank is very strong on a 2-pad map, so that makes a lot of sense. Now he probably doesn't want to do that anymore, so he's playing a Chuggy Inferno. I personally think the Stealth Tank variant is stronger, but they're basically the same deck. Like, this is still Chuggy Inferno. It's still one of the best decks in the game.
Ooh, look at that. It's all right. So Killer here getting control of the pads early. Of course, using those fast-moving bikes to his advantage. Blocking the flames as well. Some nice micro there. But, of course, not going to be able to stop them completely. So he's moved the bike over onto the far left pad. The wheels, I don't know if they're going to chew through them in time, but never mind. Okay, so the tank's going to make it over there, getting through those lasers as well. And here the Chem Buggy now turning the tide. Oh, boy. Okay. Can Killer come back from here? It's not looking great. The flames coming out as well. Exactly the counter he needs on that middle pad. Tank moving over and just getting tons and tons of value. A Seth's Reply coming down just to secure things up. Oh, but the lasers and the Chem Buggy win on the pad on the right, but never mind. Doesn't matter too much. The flames are going to hold steady, and there it is. Steefy with missile number 1.
Very nice swap from Killer there. When the tank was out, he managed to clean up the flames on the middle and swap the rifle into tank against the Scorpion. I don't know what Steefy was doing with that drill pod. That felt like massive overkill to me. Like, he won that missile by a lot. But the fact is, the Inferno deck is the Chuggy decks are very weak to tank. That's why you have an Inferno as well. You don't normally win first missile against tank. What Killer needs to do now is bomb the flamers and then use lasers to beat tanks. If he does that, he's going to be in good shape. Just spam lasers underneath this Inferno, use the Inferno to clean up the flamers. That's how he wins this game.
Okay, so he's taking out one flame squad so far. The Inferno's about to fully reload, only taking a single bike missile there, so not very much damage taken so far, getting great value, as one of those flame squads did cost 70, so that's 100 for 110 so far. And now it's looking pretty good here for Killer, because he's starting to get his game plan set up. He's got double Inferno, taking down another set of bikes, and these flames here not looking too happy. They're about to go down as well. Oh, commiserations to their family. That was pretty savage. And, well, again here, Killer really just getting his game plan online. We're now inching towards a missile number 2, and even if Steffi does manage to clear up that Inferno, which he just did, nice movement on the double bike there, these flames are doing a lot of damage here, causing really good havoc here against Steffi. So now Killer trying to secure the second missile. Can he do it? He's looking quite good as he gets the double Inferno on the middle pad. Bikes coming in from behind. They're about to fully reload. He doesn't manage to get a double kill on them, which is a bit unfortunate. Now this Inferno's in a good spot. If he manages to get this Hex here, he'll block the Hex that's going to get on the pad, but instead, nice movement there from Steffi, moving the bikes underneath the Inferno, so that way there isn't flame on the bottom left of the Hex. And now, with that flame on the far right, there it is. Wow. Steffi just making it happen, winning him 2 in a row and another game under his belt.
We're going to play on Hot Zone, which is, of course, a 2-pad map. Interesting to see if we're going to get that MLRS deck again from Killer. We do see Jackson, so maybe it's MLRS Sling again. It is another 2-pad map. It is that same deck from Killer. So this is clearly his 2-pad map deck. This feels like a way better map to be playing this deck on. Because MLRS, you put MLRS in the middle, you put a slingshot on, actually you can put it on one of the pads as a frontliner. It'll protect the MLRS from the laser drones, and it'll also be protected in turn. So this one seems like it should go okay for Killer, but I mean, I don't know. I hate these 2 range decks so much. I personally wouldn't play them, but maybe Killer will be able to pull it out. We'll see.
Well, speaking of pulling it out, here comes the MLRS getting into a great position next to the missile silo, just like Blade was pointing out there. That's exactly where you want to put it because, of course, it gets blocked by the missile silo, and then all you have to do is place some units around it in order to block it. And there, it already took out the first set of bikes. That is kind of expected when you pop it out. You should expect it to take probably 1 bike volley, but from there, you really need to protect it. And these laser drones here are a great tech switch from Steffi, as so far, Killer's not able to get to his slingshot. He's a bit pop-capped at the moment, actually. As we see here, the single dog squadron is really just holding things back, but now, boosted slingshot coming in hot, cleaning up those laser drones like nobody's business, taking down the first squad. But of course, he does need to get onto these pads here. Steffi now having the laser drones there. The slingshots are to clear him quickly enough, and well, all right. Steffi just takes it down.
This is just a classic case of how ugly these 2 range decks are. He's got like his MLRS behind the missile, but then he wants to put his slingshot there, but he doesn't want to pack up the MLRS. And then the slingshot doesn't know where to go. It's just hideous, man. Like, this is why I hate playing these decks.
Yeah, it's kind of like playing snipers, right? Like, you're always moving them around. They're never in an optimal position. And even like right here, look at this. Like the MLRS here parked right by that rock. The lasers are now going to get out of getting some free damage against it. These shocks, of course, are going to clear up the lasers in time, but the laser drones are now in a good position here to go and get a cheeky shot off on the MLRS. That slingshot is sitting there as well, but it's such low hit points that it's a giant liability. And this is the big problem here with a 2-range deck. You just don't have a way to push back in. And that is the problem here for Killer. He's trying to get onto these pads. The dogs are doing a pretty decent job, but the MLRS is not be able to clear that tank. That slingshot now going down. He's going to be able to move onto the pad. We'll see some blocking here from Killer. Can he do it for long enough? Is he playing blue stacks or mobile, I guess is the question. But here, the laser drones just sneak onto the pads, and hold on a minute. Oh, that was almost a nice little flip there. But of course, this tank does get there to respond just in time. These dogs here will hold out, but not for very much longer. As the double laser drones now coming in, we've got the flames going up on the top pad just to secure things down. A nice block from the tank. Well, there is the deal. So there it is. Steffi with the victory, going 3-1, taking the series down. All right, well, let's check it out. Okay, so Dennis versus Huckinator. And Dennis here from the Dutchies, Huckinator from T2D Allstars. And all right, well, kind of an interesting map. Let's take a look at these decks. Okay, well, okay, I'm not surprised to see this from Dennis. I'm quite sure I know him as being an No-Harv MG player, but he is playing the vanilla version of it, which is like the most standard one, which is with Slingshot and Jackson. And here, Huckinator bringing out Orca with snipers. Now, you know, talk about the sniper versus MG matchup. It really does seem like the snipers are an excellent counter, but how does that really work out?
So if an MG gets set up, a sniper won't one-shot it. So it's kind of rough for the snipers have to walk in and get off 2 volleys. They will win by walking in and getting off 2 volleys, but they'll take a bunch of damage doing it. So you end up kind of trading 1 MG for 1 sniper, which is okay, honestly. If you're the half player, you can afford to make a 50 for 30 trade, but it depends how quickly you can do it, because the no-half MG deck just wins if it wins quickly, and the sniper deck, if it ever clears the MGs, it should win. But it's kind of tough. It actually is kind of tough to clear those MGs. I would personally say Dennis has done MG block here. Like, he dominates this first missile MG block. No surprises there.
Big time.
I think this is pretty rough for Huck. I don't know what he's going to do here. Maybe he'll go Orca and just start chipping down the MGs. That can be a pretty reasonable strategy. Oh, no retarget from Dennis, and he gets a free kill on the first MG. That's
Savage.
pretty good for. That's really good for Huck. That's really good for Huck there.
And the second one goes down. Lost a little bit of health there. That was the first MG squad he built, so it had taken some chip damage from dogs there, and it goes down. So just like you said, I mean, this is a bit of a problem there, because Dennis there, that triple MG squad setup, you look at what Huckinator's running, I mean, geez, I agree with you. I don't see how he makes a comeback, but having cleared up 2 of them now, and Dennis here isn't replenishing them very quickly. He spent a lot of money on Slingshot, which is a little bit unusual. I guess it makes sense because, of course, if you're anticipating some air unit to counter your wall, then, of course, you want to protect that. But now it's kind of useless. Having said that, though, it's all about the pads, and Huckinator really needs to try and block this Pippa, but doesn't get there in time. The MG squad is going to be a big problem, though. The snipers here, he does manage to retarget against them, so Dennis here doing smart plays with the MG might be all he needs to secure this down. The boosted Pipple going to try and clear him up, but we got a full house Pipple, now an Orca. Orca is a really good counter to MG, because, of course, burst damage is really difficult to deal with as it clears things so quickly. But now the Slingshot here getting in position, and Huckinator's not moving it up. It's not looking good here. Hold on a minute. Can Dennis get onto that top pad? He's trying to fight with the dog, but nice blocking there from Huckinator. Really sweaty micro from both players. But hold on, it's looking like he's going to make a comeback. All right, there it is. Nice blocking on that top pad. Dennis almost kind of forgot about it, though. It didn't seem like he was competing for it at one time, but yeah, does manage to make a comeback here for Huckinator.
Yeah, and I mean, you love to see MG just getting slapped around. That's one of my favorite things in Rivals.
Absolutely.
As you say, like, I think Dennis really lost this one. Well, he hasn't lost it yet, but like, obviously, if you're no half MG and you lose a missile, that's sad. It's a bad time for you. Although against snipers, like, if he gets more MG set up, he can still win this game. So it's not necessarily over. But it looks like this MG's going to go down to Pitbulls. That's a beating. Ooh. Looking really bad for Dennis here. And as you were saying, that I think that preemptive slingshot is what really killed him in this game. He spent all his money on a slingshot, and Huckinator just didn't make air units. And then he couldn't replenish his MGs when they went down. Once he didn't retarget with the first MG, so it went down for free. That was really bad. Second one was also damaged, went down in a single volley, but at least he got some damage in. But then he didn't make any more MGs, and you can't win with no half MG if you haven't got MGs.
Boy, oh boy, what a missile 3 we are about to see. Dennis here making the fight for his life. That Orca is not fully reloaded, so of course that Pipple will be able to clear it, just does. But a second Orca is just far behind, and it's about to make its come back onto that pad there. Now clearing up the first Pipple. That second Orca will have enough time there on the clock, and the snipers on the top are actually doing the first thing they've ever done in their life, which is hold on for dear life. Usually they go down so quickly, but here they're holding on against the dogs, and that gives them just enough time for Huckinator to take him down and win missile number 3. Well done.
I mean, you love to see MG getting demolished. That's always great. That's always good Rivals content.
Okay. Game number 2, and Dennis here switching over to Nod. So is he going to play the, I would say, the no harv MG equivalent, which is going to be Giga? And yes, okay, so he's brought out Giga. Interestingly, that he's playing it with Flame Troopers, which is you know, an off-meta choice, I have to say, because Chem Buggy being so good, I don't see why you don't ever play it. But I guess the idea is that he wants to play Wheels as a blocker for Giga and just, you know, abuse Giga's damage, which I guess makes sense. But you know, for Huckinator here, he's brought the same thing basically. So he's got snipers again, which I guess the snipers are going to be useful here because they will clear the blocking flames if that happens to be a problem, and then perhaps the missiles might be an issue for Dennis here.
I'm surprised to see Dennis bring no half MG on a 3-pad map and then not choose to bring it on a 2-pad map where it would have been a lot better. That's really surprising. Like, if he's expecting Huck to play the same deck again as well, then actually I think he's really well positioned by bringing the same deck on this map, like better than he was on the previous map. But no, he decided to go Giga. I don't like his build of Giga. Not the Flamer thing I don't mind too much, because if you're an all-in Giga deck, then the Flamers are sometimes better than the Chuggy. But I really hate Stealth Tank instead of Phantom if you're playing Giga Cannons.
But that was some really nice blocking with that Pitbull on from Huckinator, but does let the second set of bikes on there. But look at that, really just making sure the bikes don't get on there. And, well, he does lose that Pitbull, so of course the bikes do manage to get on that bottom pad. And eventually the bikes will win against the sniper, so Huckinator needs to be careful of that. There is a lot of time, though. And, oh, wow, Huckinator doesn't quite get the block there again with the boosted wheels coming in hot. Are they going to stop the Pitbull? But no. And that is definitely going to be missile number 1 for Huckinator.
Yeah, kind of surprised to see the boosted wheels going top. Like you said, he was eventually going to win with the snipers, so felt like all he had to do was hold on the bottom. So a little surprised to see him boost wheels to the top instead. But there we go, that's what he decided to do. Now we're going to see the Giga Cannon try and get set up. Snipers, interestingly, can help out against Giga Cannon, because obviously they can kill the frontline units. I think what Dennis needs to do here is make his frontline units vehicles so the snipers can't kill them. Like, what is Huck going to do if there's a couple of bikes in front of this Giga Cannon? He has to, like, duck Pitbulls in and out? That's all he can really do, and that's not fantastic.
Right, yeah, because essentially the snipers would just be throwing rocks at them. And here we go. Wheels now coming in to get at the snipers. A Bluested Orca coming in. Oh, man, look at that Giga just go down so quickly. You know, you'll love to see it. And, of course, this Orca here is going to go down very quickly. But all that really matters, he just needs to get this missile. So the snipers there getting into good position. They are going to clear up the lasers. We've got the wheels coming in from behind. And here trying to get the block against the bikes. Dennis not looking so hot, though. I mean, the bikes are eventually going to go down. All that, and there they are. So now the Pitbull's going to move forward. Of course, the Pitbull on the top pad is going to survive as long as it needs to. And, in fact, just for a little extra spice, the sniper there shooting the base. All right, well, Huckinator takes him down 2 in a row.
All right, so we're going to go to match point. This is going to be Huckinator is 2-0 up on Dennis. Let's take a look at game number 3, see if Huck can make it a clean sweep. We're seeing Jackson again. Is it going to be the same deck from Huck? Huck does seem to like this deck, and yes, it is just the same deck from Huck. Fair enough. Interesting missile opening. I'm guessing he's missile opening because he sees Dennis playing GDI again and he thinks it's no half MG, and he's correct. So he's going missile opening to kill the dogs. But Dennis decides to open missiles instead, maybe also predicting a dog opening from Huck. So they've kind of got some crossed wires there. They've both done a different opening than usual, and it's not worked out well for Huck because Dennis can switch tech quickly. Oh, I see what he's doing. He wants to open barracks so he can make snipers sooner. Okay, that makes sense. So the missiles weren't to counter dogs, the missiles were just so that he had snipers sooner. That makes a lot of sense. If he gets to snipe this MG here, he just wins the game pretty much. Oh, here it comes.
The MG, they're
just
about
pops
to go
the
down.
MG, that's it. It's over, man. Dennis is in so much trouble now.
Absolutely shreked. I mean, gosh, those snipers with the boost, boy, they moved in hot, and they got in there in time and just cleared it super quick. Like you said, they weren't planted, so they didn't get the extra bonus HP there, and as a result, the snipers cleared them on one shot. Now, having said that here, Huckinator actually is in a pretty good position. He's got the snipers coming in. Of course, Dennis without the harvester, he's got that extra pop cap, so he can spam units to the pads, which is exactly what we're seeing here. We're going to see many more dogs come out, I'm sure, but the snipers are doing quite a good job. Now the boosted missiles get into position just quickly enough to stop the dogs from getting to the right to stop the missile, or the get at the snipers, and well, look at this sweaty blocking. Of course, this is long enough. Oh, wow! MVP missile of the game manages to block the dogs out, and there it is, Huckinator with missile number 1.
Savage block there from Huck. Absolutely brutal for Dennis. Literally, like, so close to flipping it. Once you lose first missile with no half MG as well, and he pops another MG. Doesn't get the other one, but I think, yeah, there it is. Gets it right away after.
Oh,
Huck making liberal use of those boosts because he knows he has so much more money. He can afford to spew boosts. Like, in normal games of Rivals, I think a lot of these boosts weren't great. But against no half MG, you have that extra cash to spew. So you might as well. You might as well get value out of the boosts. And killing the MG is obviously amazing each time you do it. So anytime you boost and kills an MG, that's great.
Well, and here comes the other broken unit in Dennis's deck, which is these dogs. Of course, they're not going to be very effective against the multiple Pitbulls here. We got double Pitbull from Huckinator clearing him up. And yeah, Dennis really cash strapped here. He's not able to build anything that's going to counter this very quickly. So really, he's just kind of letting, you know, it's a matter of time before this game goes down. And of course, the boosted missile there was a little bit of a towel throw in, as here it is, Huckinator with missile number 2 and the whole series.
All right, to play series number 3. Here still, we are looking at 1-1, so yeah, no advantage to either side yet.
Not yet. So they're both feeling pretty good about each other. Okay, well, Toby here has pulled out, well, actually, it looks like he's taken notes from his teammate there. He's pulled out the exact same deck as we just saw. And Aries here using, again, the same deck that we saw from, I want to say, I can't remember his name now, but, you know, the first match we saw. So, you know, a little bit of the same decks, right? Yeah, that's right.
Deck and Steefy's deck, so kind of interesting to just see the straight up copy decks. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Huck deck is not for everyone. It feels like when you look at like an Agent Shadow deck or whatever, and it's like, you shouldn't be playing this if you're not the person who created it, basically. That's
Right.
kind of how I feel about those decks.
Absolutely. Well, and so both players opening into their War Factor. Of course, both openers here for them are Wheels and Dogs. So, of course, we're going to expect to see that. But now a tank coming up from Aries. He's going to be able to deal some good damage here to these Pitbulls. Got missiles coming in from behind. That low hit point Pitbull could be a bit of a liability, but nice boost on the missiles. Of course, clearing up the tank before it even gets a shot on that Pitbull. Very important. But now all he needs to do is get a block against these flames. Can he make it happen? Oh, he lets him on the absolute savaging here for Toby. He just had it, but of course the flames get on there. Now he's in a big problem here. He's not being able to push back. The bikes here getting a full volley off against the Pitbull, and of course the snipers are going to be able to clear things up. But we got the Wheels there in time. There's been a lot of time to respond, and well, tucking the tail between his legs, backing the snipers off, and Aries takes missile number 1.
What a huge throw from Toby. He had that locked down. All he had to do was block.
Yeah,
but I mean, sometimes you miss a block. Sometimes you miss a block and you just die, and that's what happened there.
Yeah, Toby using Huck's deck, but not using his moves, and that's really where he needed to be.
Savage. Yeah, I mean, like, I find snipers to be quite challenging to play. I've played this game quite a lot, and I think snipers are not worth the effort, so that tells you quite a lot about snipers, I think.
Yeah, true
like,
enough,
I'm considered okay at this game, and I really don't think snipers are worth it.
All right, well, we got the Dogs on the left. Can he get the block this time? He's got all 3 pads, and he should live long enough. So there it is. All right, Toby coming back with missile number 2. Going to push us into missile number 3.
Yeah, and of course, gets the block that time from Toby, looking very good. He's pushed completely off the map, though, here. It's looking... He needs to make some serious headway here if he's going to get back into this game. There's a lot of boosts from Toby, I gotta say. Like, some of them have been good, some of them have been less good. It's very easy to overspend on boosts. And this Orca is extremely late to this game. I feel like we could have had a much faster Orca if we'd seen a few less boosts.
Well, speaking of boosts there, so the Orca clearing up the Wheels, and Orca's a pretty good tool here, of course, to deal with the tanks. We got laser drones coming out as well, in numbers, as they always do. And here another boost with the Orca clearing up those bikes. Might be a bit of an over-investment, though, as he does really need to clamor for these pads. That said there, so he gets a Pitbull onto the far right, but it is low hit point, so I think the laser drones will win against it. It's going to be close. Okay, so they do, but he's not onto that far right pad. The snipers do make it there, but of course, they can't beat up that laser drone, and Aries takes it, missile number 3. That's right, and of course an important victory, right? Because this is 1-1 in the series between these two teams. So Aries here coming out ahead will give him, 2-1. But of course, so many games to go yet. And okay, Toby pulling out Borka on Eruption. I guess this does seem like a pretty reasonable Borka map because of the pads not being too far apart. But I don't know about this. I mean, having seen what Aries was playing, it seems like Inferno would have just been a much better choice.
Yeah, Inferno is always a much better choice than Borka. I'm baffled when people choose to bring Borka. If you are going to play Borka, though, I think this is a good style of deck to do it in. You play Predator to dominate the ground, you play Shock Troopers to dominate the infantry, and then you play Borka for if you lose the tank war. That's kind of the game plan of the deck. The problem is that Sling doesn't always cover your air issues, and if that happens, you're in trouble. Oh, another boost. Toby needs to boost less, for sure.
So unfortunate there. Toby tried to get the block with his Dogs against the second set of Wheels, but didn't get there. So Aries got the 2v1 with the Wheels, and that chewed up through the missiles, which bought enough time here for Aries to respond. So here we go. We got the bikes on the middle pad as well. The missiles are going to get on there, but we got a Central Pod coming in from behind. And here it's in a pretty good spot. However, nice boost here from Toby to try and clear them up. That's kind of what you want to do. And Aries now making a push for that far right pad. Is he going to make it on there? We got to see a block here from Toby on the middle pad, but the Wheels do manage to get there. The whistles will clear it up, so he's got enough time to try to do this. Of course, a lot of focus is happening on that far right pad as he's trying to stop those bikes from getting on the far right pad, which he does manage to do. Missiles coming in from behind, but now, of course, he's got to make him fight for this middle pad, and the double Wheels here look okay, but they're not going to hold on for too long, so now we need to see try and have a push here on that far left pad. Doesn't really have much in his arsenal besides that Borka, and of course the laser drone's looking a little bit lackluster, but here we go. Good positioning on those missiles, now blocking out the flames, and that gives Toby missile number 1.
I'm not really sure what the laser drones were trying to do. He made laser drones and tried to send them past missiles, and they just died. That's when he lost that missile. Like, it was kind of back and forth, sort of, until he just suicided laser drones, and then the pop cap disadvantage of wasting an entire unit meant that he just lost that missile to Toby. It wasn't looking great before that anyway, but like that's definitely where he lost it.
And speaking of losing it here, Aries is pulling out the laser drones, but just letting them get completely demolished by the slingshot. Slingshot here gaining some value, and that's kind of important, right? Because of course the Predator tank is one of the key tools here for Toby, as you pointed out, which with the slingshot will shut down those laser drones, making sure that the Predator tank's going to get decent value. Having said that, though, these bikes here doing some pretty good work. We got more laser drones coming out, though. That slingshot having gone down means Toby's just not able to get another one built in time. He does have a lot of money, though, so does he go Borka here? That's going to be the question. Of course, he does need to respond to these pads. He does have missile number 1 under his belt, so if he loses this, he's not out of the game, and he's got plenty of time to get that Borka online. So here we go. We got double laser drone and flames on that middle pad. That's going to block the Predator tank from getting on there, even with the boost. And there it is, Aries with missile number 2.
Yeah, and like you said before, the way that Toby wins this game is slingshot shutting down laser drones, and then Scorpion tank beating the rest of the ground, basically. But you can see again how awkward this slingshot has been. Sometimes it demolishes laser drones, but then when it fell, the laser drones took over again, and now he has the slingshot. But if Aries stops making laser drones, which for some reason he hasn't done, the slingshot becomes useless. For some reason, Aries is just continuing to make laser drones into this slingshot. I mean, like, it's been an absolute laser drone massacre in this game.
Yeah, a lot of brain matter all over the map, because you know what those laser drones are made of. And all right, so a pretty early Seth drill pod, but of course that should buy enough time for before the missile fires that he should be able to use it again. So not too early, but pretty interesting. I guess he just wanted to start charging the missile quickly. Toby here still again not getting into Borka. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna see one this game. It is kind of lackluster, so like, why would you make it here? This Predator tank, and okay, never mind. There it is. Okay, so Borka with the boost coming in, he's gonna make a push over to the far map, but he does fly it over that single flame squad, so it starts prematurely evacuating its bombs, which means that it didn't get quite enough value. Having said that, though, he does get it up onto that top left pad. It's got enough health to survive against these bikes, so he just needs to win this middle pad. And all right, here we go. Can he block out the Predator tank? He needs to get a block here. Oh, there it is. All right, very nice. Borka holds on, and of course, the dogs on the far right being the MVP of the game. And there it is, Toby with the game.
3. Here it is, Aries taking on Toby. Once again, it is of course 1-1 in both the overall match and this match. So even Stevens right here.
Well, so he's brought Kane with Mutant Chuggy, which is so bizarre. I mean, okay, so on this map, obviously Kane has some reasonable spots, but I think one of the problems, right, is like the map with the pads so far apart. The tower will do a great job of shutting things down on the middle pad, and I believe its main target here should be the Scorpion tank, maybe even a Seth drill pod if it's in the sight of it. But other than that, I find Kane a bit of an odd choice, because with Oksana, you can get the boost of the Chuggy or the Mutants, which would put you so much further ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you that Kane on this map seems very weak. It's really quite difficult to get a strong tower on this map, but I've seen a big trend towards these Mutant Chuggies with Kane instead of Oksana, because Mutant Chuggy just loses to tank. That's the unit that Mutant Chuggy really struggles with, and Kane helps you a lot with that situation. So I think it does actually make, it's not completely insane to play Kane.
Well, it just seems a bit odd with me, but you know, you make a good point there, right? Because of course the Chem Buggy is such an important part of that Combine's arm. It's really the cornerstone of it. And you know, that's one of the issues with Tank, as you pointed out, is Tank will shut that down, but Kane kind of backs that up. So you know what? You know, not a bad play there. Okay, it makes a lot of sense.
So obviously now we're seeing Toby is struggling with that tank as expected. The tank is a bit of a problem. It always is for a Mutant Chuggy. So here comes the Mutants. Aries going with a drill pod, which seems a little premature here. If Toby can take care of this flamer, then this tank, then the Chuggy will have free reign. Seeing laser drones as well, but they're just getting handled by those lasers very easy. That Chuggy is not healthy. That thing will die if anything touches it. As we approach this missile.
Yeah, here we go. So, of course, that Chuggy going down, a big problem. Laser drones here aren't going to be that effective either. They don't really have a lot of targets, of course, for the bikes. And, you know, you love the Kane Tower coming down for style points. Yeah, I mean, you know, it will chip away at the flames. Of course, it will delete one model per shot. So, not obviously the worst thing, but for 110, I feel like there's probably some more bang for your buck that you could get. Now, of course, one problem here that we're seeing is Toby is not making a fight for that top pad. Those lasers are sitting there pretty. They're just having the time of their life. Probably having a picnic, for God's sake. And here is Seth coming down, now targeting the bottom pad. Aries making a slow climb to try and take take all these pads, but of course the one issue with Seth is that chem buggy is a thing, and that Seth throw pod just got annihilated right by that chem buggy. So here, the middle pad here, we're seeing a bunch of laser drones here. You know, I feel like Flight of the Bumblebee should be playing right now with all these laser drones coming out. And there, finally, Toby realizing the top pad could be a target as he takes out the lasers with that chem buggy. Now with all 3 pads, he might be able to clutch this, but of course, the flying laser drones against a mostly ground-based deck, it's a little bit awkward because he didn't have enough time to really counter it. So finally, we're seeing the bikes come out now, but he's sending them to the middle pad where there are no laser drones, and he needs to get out of that top pad. Oh, tried to get the block on that top hex with the laser drone, but of course, smart play by Toby to send the bikes onto the far left hex, but wasn't enough. And there it is, Aries with missile number 2.
I think we saw 3 drill pods during that final charge.
Was it 3?
That was,
I think you're right.
That was outrageous. Like, that was so
Three,
long. And like, Toby
wild.
could never really get into position to fight off those laser drone spam. Like, laser drones plus flamers, he just couldn't handle both of them at the same time. And he needed to just be doing laser chuggy, but then a tank comes out. It's just tough, man. He needed to laser chuggy because he had an obelisk in play, and then you can bait a tank, and then you obelisk it, and then that's how you win, right? You play laser chuggy, and then you make an obelisk to survive against the tank.
Ooh, speaking of that, he built the tower here. Its first target was the flames, but does manage to take down the tank. So Aries here pushed back a little bit. He's not going to be able to build a tank for a little bit here, of course, because that tower is going to cover that middle pad until it goes down. But having said that, the timing on the tower may not have been the best. As we see, the tower's now about to go down. Toby doesn't have enough time to pull out another one, which you really would want going into this 3rd missile. So here we go. We got lasers on the bottom pad, lasers going to the top. No targets that are going to clear the lasers, so all he needs to do is block, and there it is. All right, Toby with the game.
Yeah, and then
yeah, kind of an unusual day when you see a GDI mirror, and even more unusual when you see Strong Arm. But here on Cracked Ice, that Strong Arm turret actually has some good placement, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Strong Arm on Cracked Ice is pretty strong. It's not like the absolute best, but the middle pad, either side, like on the far side of the middle pad, is always fantastic for Strong Arm. The main problem just being that Strong Arm got nerfed way too much, and now is not a great commander. Like, Strong Arm is just not as strong as it should be, in my opinion. But it's still decent. It's still okay. It's still going to get some things done, especially against this sniper deck. If you can pop a turret on the snipers with good timing, you can clean them up. That can be a real beating for the sniper player.
I mean, these 2 decks are pretty even. Like, there's not a whole lot of differences between them. Of course, oh, well, I shouldn't say that. There are lots, but, you know, they seem pretty close to each other. So, all right, well, speaking of that, who's going to take down missile number 1? And it looks like it's going to be Aries. All right, Aries coming out on top for that missile. And what I was going to say is that, so really the 2 differences between them, we've got Slingshot versus Hammerhead, and then, of course, Shock versus Sniper. And that does, of course, change the dynamics of the deck quite a bit. Strong Arm, of course, does too. But, you know, the thing is, like you pointed out earlier, Snipers are just so hard to make good use of. So I feel like Aries here has a slightly better chance.
Yeah, I mean, if Toby can get the Sniper set up well, he should be favored, but it is tough. It's very tough to get good value out of these Snipers. That first missile, Aries just won the War Factory mirror, and the infantry wasn't really that relevant, so it just ended up being a War Factory victory.
Okay, so Toby getting the snipers out on the bottom there, chewing up those shocks. We see Orca coming out from Aries, and of course Toby does have Pitbull. He's got both Pitbull and Slingshot. A little bit unusual, but you know, makes sense because you do want to have a ground-based air unit, or sorry, ground-based anti-air unit. So nice to have that as well. We see that boosted Pitbull trying to get there, but interesting placement on that turret. I'm not so sure about that. Okay, so Orca here getting a volley off against the snipers there, and Pitbull here is going to survive, which is a big problem because it will clear the Orca, and well, that's going to buy enough time for Toby taking missile number 2.
Wow, that was kind of savage for Aries there. Felt like he should have been able to clutch it, but just couldn't kill off everything that was on the left from Toby there. And just the Pitbull just hangs on long enough to take down the missile. Toby, of course, now no snipers in play. Had to remake the sniper, but actually there's way too many dogs. And as you can see, the snipers are like hiding at the back of the map. They're kind of sad right now, and Toby nothing to protect them with.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a sniper, you are afraid of war dogs because just like Blade was pointing out here, they're in numbers, they're cheap, and they're going to do a good job of pushing them back. So these snipers here are just sitting at the base. You know, they're getting some information or something, doing some research, trying to figure out where they should go. And, well, finally, now they're going to move into position. They're going to try and get over to the far left pad there, which is a good position for it. Of course, he's going to be able to take down these missiles. But speaking of missiles, here comes number 3. All right, so Toby here getting onto that middle pad, but the shocks are there to respond. We got double Orca and Hammerhead on the far left and right. And, oh, all right. So Pitbull does make it there in time, but it should reload, and doesn't matter, actually. Middle pad was taken down. The missiles didn't last long enough, and there it is. Aries with the game.
Yeah, and Aries. All right, so of course we got 1-1 Dutchies versus T2D. We're going into match point of Aries versus Toby. It is 2-2, so a very close series here. We're seeing Jackson again from Toby, really hoping it's not that sniper tech. If he 0-3s with that deck, that's pretty bad. And no, he's back to the Balker, right? It's a better choice, but he did win with this deck, so maybe we'll see a second victory with it.
Right? Yeah, I mean, here on flooded fields, you know what? Borka's not too bad because the nice thing is you got those 2 pads at the top that are so close together. So the Borka can get some reasonable value, right? And that's kind of what it does best is it denies area, although nowhere near as good as it used to. But yeah, I mean, that's somewhere where it might see some value. And here, Aries, the thing is he does have Hammerhead, though. The Slingshot, you know, it is a really strong anti-air unit, but the Hammerhead actually has some pretty decent hit points. So one of the problems we might see come out of this is the Slingshot trying to clear a Hammerhead in time and just not being able to.
Yeah, that could happen. The same thing can happen with Orca, where like an Orca gets close to your slingshot while it's moving and just one-shots it. That's definitely super awkward when that happens. But here you see dogs. There's just too many dogs. Toby cannot get through them with Predator. This is a huge problem for decks like this where you don't have Pitbull. You just can't clear dogs fast enough in the early game, and you basically always lose first missile to them. Well,
it's a little surprising he didn't clear the single one, though, right? Like, why didn't he clear the top dog, just the single one, and then try to push onto the pads, right? I'm a little surprised he didn't do that.
Yeah, the retarget to the full squad was definitely unusual. I think it made more sense, as you're saying, to clear that one and try and get on. I don't think he ever does it, though. Maybe he just respects the opponent and is like, I'm not getting on. I'm not gonna clear his one-man dog right away because there's no way I get through either way. So I might as well try and clear both. If he gets to a point where he can clear both in quick succession, then he might be able to just take the pad before Aries can respond.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, having lost that first missile, of course, Aries here is in a bit of a better position. That Orca now getting a full volley off. Oh, actually, 3 out of 4 onto the Predator there. He did manage to back off the shocks there and allowed to take 1 missile there, so didn't completely take it down. But doesn't matter. 1 more volley and it will go down, and there's nothing there to target it. So here goes. Okay, he does manage to block off the Predator tank, but he needs to get onto these pads. And look at the positioning on those dogs. Really good stuff. And there it is. Slingshot just doing absolutely nothing. So Aries just takes him down pretty swiftly, I have to say.
Wow, absolutely brutal game for Toby there. Aries cleaning it up 3-2.
Let's check it out.
But we do see a Oksana mirror, so Maximus not even bringing his favorite EDI.
In the same
skin too. Giga Cannon, a pretty standard Giga Cannon list. Like I was saying earlier, if you're playing pure Giga Cannon and your Giga Cannon is your game plan, then Flamers do make sense with it. I think Chuggy is also obviously insane. Chuggy is just ridiculous. But the pure Flamer Giga means that you don't struggle with things like, what's it called, mutants. If you have mutants, then Chuggy Giga struggles, but Flamer Giga does fine against mutants. So if you're all in on your Giga, which on this map is a reasonable plan, I think Flamers are okay. Klotzy going with the Inferno Chuggy, again, without the Stealth Tank. I think that could hurt him here, because the main reason to play Stealth Tank is to protect your Inferno against Phantoms and Phantoms and Hammerheads. But Maximus does have a Phantom, so that could be a problem. We'll have to wait and see how it goes.
Okay, so Maximus here getting his Giga Cannon out, and really good timing because, of course, the earlier the better, because Matt Klotzy's not going to get to that Inferno very quickly, and now he's going to get into a great spot. So there it is, Giga Cannon slowly getting the charge and the boost as well. He's going to clear up absolutely everything. Oh, throwing those lasers out to the fire. Wow, just completely destroyed them. And, well, Maximus here, very clearly knowing how to play this, takes missile number 1.
Yeah, you could actually see Maximus retarget from the chemical buggy onto the laser with his Giga Cannon and just absolutely wreck them. It's savage. It's kind of disgusting how much Giga can beat up on infantry. Looking really good for Maximus here. Klotzy is going to have to go into Inferno. You can see he's already built his air tower. If Maximus is smart, he'll now save money for a tech switch. Not a big fan of this second Flamer. He does need to be ready in case an air unit comes out, and he's I mean, if he didn't have that flamer, he'd now have enough money for a Phantom, but doesn't have the money. Here comes the Inferno. Can he stall it with bike spam? This is usually one of the best things to do against Inferno if you don't have the Phantom yet. Just keep putting bikes as your frontline unit and the Inferno has to keep killing them. Oh, there is the Phantom. It looks like it is going to be on time. I think Maximus is in very good shape here.
Yeah, look at this. The Phantom is going to get a full volley off against it. And the double laser in front of the Inferno there was a nice play, but the Phantom with his front radar, I mean, it was going to shoot it no matter what. So Mad Klotz just didn't get enough time to pull it back quickly enough to protect it, and that allowed Maximus to clear it out. And that is huge, because look at this. We're coming into missile number 2, and there just ain't a lot of time on this clock. That Phantom still lives, and it's going to easily block that Inferno. Of course, there it is. An extra laser shot was all he really needed to make sure the Phantom one-shotted it, and there it is. Maximus with the missile number 2 and the first game.
Yeah, no.
All right, here we go. Game number 2. Maximus, of course, taking down that first one. And all right, interesting choice of map here from Mad Klotz. He's switched over to GDI and he's playing. All right, we're seeing this deck all through this series. I mean, it's kind of wild, right? I guess there must be something to it. So, all right, so of course, against what Maximus has brought here, he's got Predator tank with jump jet. So he's not running missiles and he's got strong arm. On this map, strong arm actually makes a lot of sense. It's got a good placement there on that middle pad, kind of like cracked ice, where you can place it on either side of that top pad. So it's got some pretty good mobility there, and he's also got talent. So other than really not having missiles here, it's not that unusual of a deck.
So, yeah, like you say, the jump jets instead of missiles is the only unusual thing. But jump jets are so bad now. I mean, it's Maximus, he's a fantastic player. But jump jets really suck now, so...
Especially into snipers.
I don't know if I put all my money on him.
Like, this is where snipers could really shine, right? Like, the jump jets are pretty expensive, and it could be an important tech switch, because what we might see here is, of course, Maximus going into his own Predator tank, Mad Klotz switching into Orca, and Maximus does have Pitbull, but that's all he has. And he has Talon too, but he doesn't have missiles, which is really probably the best tool you have against Orca. Talon's pretty good too, though, but the thing is, Mad Klotz has got Slingshot, so Slingshot can clear those up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Maximus has Predator Shock. It's really going to come down to whether or not these snipers can take over the middle. If they can, then Mad Klotz is in good shape. If they can't, then he did.
Okay, so double shock coming out, and really good there, because of course Maximus, just like we saw in a previous game where Blade was pointing out that you really want to go into an infantry war where the shocks can shine. This is kind of where Mad Klotz wants to be as well, but these dogs could be a huge problem. He is trying to chew through those missiles, but nice positioning here from Mad Klotz. He's got the snipers able to target that bottom hex on the pad. Now he's slowly moving them up. So of course the snipers here are going to be able to target these shocks, but unfortunately, as you did see a shock get there onto the bottom pad, now he's getting onto the far right. We see an ion cannon targeting an empty pad. Very interesting. He did manage to get the Predator tank, but of course, nice harvester pull from Maximus. That high-level play that you just love to see. And all right, so on that middle pad, we got shocks tickling the Pitbull. Pitbull will actually lose there because we got a Pitbull from behind. So now we're using the good positioning of the shocks, moving them over. We've got the jump jets coming out as well, which of course the jump jets are going to be a great tool against the dogs, one-shotting them there. So now, having taken them down, that gives Maximus number 1.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice iron cannon from Klotz actually, because he had the dogs to block the Predator in, so it was definitely going to hit it. And it also would have covered the back of the pad if another unit was entering. But of course Maximus responds in the correct way, immediately gets that harvester on back on the pad, buys himself enough time to re-get real units on there. Doesn't even lose that much mining time, just very nice play from Maximus, and he does take the missile because of it.
Unit ready.
It was pretty close, though, overall. I mean, Mad Klotz, like the snipers, you know, he actually managed to get them in a good spot. And this is probably the best sniper game that we've seen throughout the whole series. Although, well, I shouldn't say that, actually. There has been some pretty good sniper games in this series so far. But here, Mad Klotz really using them to good effect. And nice pulling them back there. Oh, unfortunate there is he did lose one of them. Shocks having just locked on long enough. He does have a second set of snipers coming in from behind. That first sniper squad really has been around a long time. So not a big loss.
Yeah, the snipers, this is a classic example of why I'm not a big fan of snipers. Like, he like made a tiny micro error and suddenly he loses one of the sniper models, and now the squad is kind of bad. But very nice iron cannon, dodges it with his missiles, cleans up the the shocks with the iron cannon, allowing the missiles to dominate that pad, which secures him that second missile. Very nice play from Klotz there.
Not only that, but the sniper positioning stopped that turret from being placed into an advantageous position. We saw Maximus was forced to put that turret up next to the missile silo, which really just not an optimal position for it at all. Okay, so bit of a switch here from Maximus getting the Talon. We see it take down that Orca, and really, these Orcas are doing quite good, clearing out these pit bulls. So that's kind of where Mad Klotz wants to be. If he can take down these pit bulls, then you know what? His Orcas are going to win the skies, and without really much to contest it. Again, the Talon really kind of is what he needs, but he doesn't have missiles, and missiles here would be so useful.
Yeah, surprised to see Klotz not making the missiles to go with his snipers, because he is kind of doing well on the infantry war. He just keeps making Orcas instead. I feel like it's the classic example of the mistake where players have enough money to make a more expensive unit, so they make it, even if it's worse in that spot. I've seen people do this a lot,
right.
where they're like, oh, I have enough money to make X, so I'm going to make it, even if Y was better.
Ooh, look at this Harvester pull from Maximus. Again, the high-level plays, but an Ion Cannon coming down only clears out just that single shot. Nice pullback on the Pitbull. Absolutely brilliant. And the turret to block the snipers. Just a beautiful play there from Maximus. You can tell he's quite practiced with his deck. So that strong arm turret actually getting good damage against the Orca with that single Pitbull shot, clearing it out. And with all 3 hexes on the top pad clear, the Harvester to block the Pitbull. That gives Maximus missile number 3. Wow, what a good game that was.
Yeah, and we're going to match point now. Maximus is 2-0 up, so if he takes this one, he is going to win the series, and also the series for the Dutchies.
That's
this
right.
Is all he needs, man. This game is all it takes. If he wins this one, it's all over, and Dutchies progresses to the next round.
Okay, so what have they brought here for this awesome showing? Mad Klotz here switching over to Chuggy Inferno. All right, the first time we're actually seeing this deck list in this map. We've seen it with Phantom, we've seen it with Flames, and you know we've seen it with all kinds of different variations. But here, this is really the best meta standard for it. And Maximus making a no, he's playing the exact same thing here. So it must be a comfort deck for him. This is probably what he played a lot of, like you pointed out about Jump Jet and Talon. So this must be the deck list that he's most comfortable with, even though he's a little bit weaker now. I guess having the experience does help.
Yeah, Maximus absolutely loves this deck. Obviously, as you say, he played it a ton. Interesting to see that when upon seeing second bike, he doesn't want to make another Pitbull. He clearly is not interested in this. He wants to instead go into infantry. I think maybe he would have made jump jets if he hadn't seen the rifles coming, but instead chooses to make the shocks when he sees the rifles. I think in the long term, Klotz should be able to win this game with Sniper and Chuggy. Maximus should not really... Sorry, not what I'm talking about. Laser and Chuggy. Maximus should not really be able to beat Laser and Chuggy with Pitbull and Orca. But we'll see if that's how it turns out.
Okay, we got double Pitbull again on the bottom pad there. And nice blocking here from Maximus. A turret coming down just to make sure that Pitbull is low hit points. So, you know, not terrible, I suppose, because, of course, he could have gone onto the pads there. The turret would have maybe potentially taken down the lasers and allowed him to re-secure that pad. But either way, we pulled that Pitbull back just in time, and that gives him missile number 1.
Good blocking by Maximus again. Klotz just doesn't get the lasers out in time, doesn't get the Chuggy laser combo quickly enough. And here we see Maximus sees an opportunity and sends Orca protected by dogs at the half. This is going to be a free half kill, I think. Oh, hang on, never mind. Stealth tank boost. This is going to be in time. No, the dog block. Maximus again. So good at the game.
Wow. Oh man, look at that, eh? The stealth tank actually did clear up the Orca, but because of that block on the dogs, he split up its volley just a little bit. Of course, he did have to sweatily micro that tank, so it didn't fire off its extra 2 missiles, but still, that was a really, really good move.
Yeah, Maximus played that pretty well. Getting the trade there, I think, was fantastic. It seemed like he should have lose his stealth tank. And then he was able to take out the Harvester with the Pitbull, who comes in to support. So yeah, Maximus looking pretty strong. That Harvester kill not super relevant here, but it does mean 1 extra Orca on the field.
Ooh, nice here. So that Orca managed to clear out the Chuggy. He's going to try and get the second one. We got laser set up, though, and it goes down. So the Chuggy here with the lasers doing some good value. The Orca moving over to the far left, but actually decides to back it off. A little surprising to see that, as he could have cleared the bikes in 1 volley, get onto the pad, but that has bought a lot of time here. He's going to try and do a flip, but it's not going to be enough. And all right, Mad Klotz coming back with missile number 2.
Yeah, and Laser Chuggy, even despite Maximus' advantage going into this missile, Laser Chuggy just proving to be a big problem for Maximus. I think his deck really struggles with it, and if Klotz sticks it out and just keeps Laser Chuggying, he should be in good shape here. I mean, it's down to Maximus to find a way to win this one.
Well, and another Harvester about to go down here. Orca getting a second volley on it, so that clears it up. Again, you know, that could be somewhat important, but you look at the economies of both of these players, and there's lots of money on both sides. That said, though, Matt Klotz has an expensive win condition in Inferno, so might be stopping that from getting online. And here, he had to spend all that money on a stealth tank, clearing up the Orca. So he does manage to do that. We got to turn on the middle as well with shocks coming in to block, and oh, nice positioning there. He does manage to stop the stealth tank from trying to get onto the pad, but here, the Chuggy is going to get some good value against it. But is it going to last long enough? We've seen the boost on the Chuggy. Is it going to be good enough? And no,
look
it
at that
is
savage
not.
blocking.
Woo.
Savage blocking by Maximus again. And I don't think that Klotzy needed that stealth tank. I think Chuggy Laser was all he needed. I actually think there's potentially like he didn't even need to rebuild his Harvester. If he hadn't built the stealth tank, he would have enough money to keep doing Chuggy Laser, which is all he really needed.
Yeah.
I think that stealth tank at the end was a pretty big throw. Lost him a lot of map control and a lot of money. Forced him to rebuild his Harvester because it spent all of his bank. And there it is. Maximus takes the 3-0, which means Dutchies 3-1 to T2D. I would like to say that there was also a Mika El Willy versus Osterwich match, which does go to T2D. So it was actually a 3-2. But due to a slight clerical error, I didn't know that I had to play the matches in a different order, so we should have had a 3-2. But unfortunately, we've already shown the 3-1, and at this point, you know, we all know the result of the final match because it can't be a Dutchies win. So probably just not going to show that one now. Apologies to Mika and Osterwich if they were hoping to have their matches cast. But yeah, it is a foregone conclusion at this point. Dutchies do win 3-2 against T2D Allstars. So congratulations to Dutchies, they're going to move on. T2D not out of it, they are going to drop to the losers bracket. It is double elimination, so they are still potentially in it this tournament. And yeah, there we go. There it is. Dutchies taking it down, thanks mostly to big boys Maximus, Aries, and who was the other one who won? On Huck, of course. No, Huck was T2D's win, sorry. Stevie, yeah. Stevie's a very talented player, yeah. So no surprises. No surprise to see Stevie and Maximus win. And of course the Aries Toby match was very close. It went down to 5 games. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff to see that. And I hope you guys all enjoyed that. This does have a reasonably large prize pool, this event, but due to the currency that is in crashing and PayPal fees, we do need a little bit more support so that Kenny doesn't have to spend money on handing out these prizes at the end. So if you guys want to just, you know, drop a few bucks to help Kenny out with PayPal fees, that would be much appreciated. You can just send it to the Legion support stuff, because this is basically, I mean, all the same guys who do Legion are running this, so it's basically a Legion event. We've got Viper doing the graphics as well, so all pretty much the same team. Alright, there you go. So Dutchies does take it down 3-1. Thank you, Jeffrey, for co-casting.
Hey, no problem. Always a fun time.
And yeah, I will see you all next time.